there's our walls in there. Okay, at this moment I'm looking through a fence because the gate is not unlocked. The people probably assumed that nobody was coming here today anyway, except for a wacko American. But here we can see with the telephoto lens what the layout will be in front of you. And remember our orientation, so what is shown in the lower left hand corner, and this is the Roman theater during the reign of Hadrian. Okay, so that is this area here. Now, exactly what we're looking at, I don't know, except that these square buildings here are what these square buildings normally would have been the rooms for the actors and props and all other kind of jazz. And then the hillside would have been covered with those stones seats, like we saw in, I think it was, wherever, Ohrid. So I'm guessing those trenches have yielded some of the red dark lines that are in that diagram, indicating the walls or the structure that would have held those seats, including what we're looking at way over there. Remember, I'm shooting through a fence in the rain with my umbrella over the top of the fence to keep the water off the camera. And I'm looking to the right just so we can see the full extent of it. But for what obviously what must be considered a very small little city in dimension, this is quite an attribute to have, I would think. So I'll pan across the complex. We started down beyond those cars right there. So I'll pan the complex now. That's where we were on this side. I'm going to walk down and continue what I think will be along the path that the camera's recording now, and maybe even down as far as to my left, where there are some other portions of ruins. So running from left to right in front of us, of course, is that road. Now the infrastructure that we see excavated may be original old walls, or as that one, it looks like relatively modern since it seems to be cement. But notice here a slab of rock that may have been part of the pavement on this roadway. And there's some more substantial rock indicating maybe there was some kind of a covered arcade on the right alongside the road. And there in the distance, indeterminate, not random, but additional structures that the archaeologists have not chose to tell us about. But even there we can see evidence of important structure. Those look like they're some kind of marbled stone. There another, and there off in the distance look like some columns. And even here, way down the road a ways, looks like the piece of column sitting vertically, and then a piece of column on its side. And then way beyond, a pile of rock that may either be warehousing, or once we get closer it may be actual building. And also notice way over there what appears to be a wall, and perhaps it was a remnant of a wall surrounding this town. Now with this building it's interesting how much of the wall remains. Is it original, or how much is? Notice how some of the construction includes what you would think of would have been debris of the time. And just pieces put in there without really design, but just as filler. Maybe all that was stuccoed anyway, and here's a stone with an angle in it. Whether it's original or not I don't know, but interesting in the context. And there a arch, or the top of an arch, probably of a doorway, indicating that the depth of that structure is probably another 4, 5, 6 feet. So notice what we're looking at there. That red portion. Sighting up here so you can get an orientation there on the site. But then here is the view that we have. And notice there's kind of a jumble of lines there indicating that over time there was overlapping of subsequent structures on top of the others. And this is just apparently a small residential complex, private dwellings. These buildings, whether that's original stucco or not, or whether it's just raw cement, I don't. Okay, here's the entry interpretive sign, if you will, showing us the broad sweep of it. Far to our left up the hill is the amphitheater, or the theater, and where we've just been is right where that road appears to cross. And so apparently there's number 12 is beyond us here. In other words, somewhere across the street over in that area there. It's interesting, this sign says Minnesota. Now it'd be interesting to know if this little bit of lapidarium is actually from here. It'd be interesting to know what this vessel was for. Now that's interesting, it appears to be skulls. And here additional bones. Huh, that's interesting. And here shards of pots. There also, surely these are from this site and the product of the archaeologists. And here you get an idea of archaeologists' work, boxes that are numbered, and these presumably numbered. Notice that those are drawings of skeletons, pointing probably which bones are the ones that they found of that skeleton. To what extent they will be able to go in identifying each skeleton, etc., who knows. They're a pretty piece. Here another, that could be a sarcophagus there. This, who knows? These, don't know. Headstones? So I just had a long conversation with the two archaeologists that were working at the site, and they informed me that this site that I'm at right now is the only necropolis of the Romans anywhere in the Balkans, if not the rest of Europe, that the headstones or stelae were left in place. They did not damage them or remove them, and this is what they have been excavating, one of several places, and the many graves, and this is just one of several necropolises, and apparently they're quite large, and this may only be this small portion of this one that they've actually excavated. Now these are of considerable size, and there are many that way. They represent family plots as well as very important people. This colony of Scupi that we were at apparently was what's called a colony, and it was where Roman officers and other military people were retired to. They were given gold and or land, and land in this place. And so there were generations apparently of wealthy families sprung from that military experience. And all around in this pit wall, as I pan around it, you can see evidence of infrastructure stuff, material, that represents who knows what. But presumably a much wider area here could be excavated. And the many pots that I saw were pots that they had excavated from here, as well as finer items that are kept in a more secure place. It's believed that those probably were filled with various things, including wine, which they've determined not by DNA or anything of that nature at this point, but rather by the design of the vessel. Here I think a thistle, but in the midst of a huge field of those lovely poppies. Here we see a little bit of archway. It looks rather small, so who knows what its purpose would have been. And there, quite a bit more of the paving for the road. Another necropolis, and these are several sarcophagi that they have excavated out. And you can imagine that these, and you can see it appears there would have been something bridging those peaks at the ends. And this appears to be that, or another, what it looks like to me. Certainly look like the walls of structures opening there. And here beside this side, there it looks like, and here between the wall rails we can see a couple of big longs. Okay, so when I came from Scupi